radios up. Turn your radios up. Y'all know what this is. Y'all know who this is. B-Eazy, that dude. Impromptu stream back with another one. Still on the West Coast, it's about 10 p.m. So it's still MLK Day. And we got to get into the rent whitewashing and repeating of his legacy. And not only that, still Latinos, some, not all, are blaming Black Americans for the ICE raids. Remember, I will vote for Donald Trump. But we gonna get into it. But before we get into it, before we get this thing started, you know, I gotta hit you.
If you know the song, sing along. Yeah, you're right.
私も地元民。と言っても実際すぐらいです。もう友達できたの？うん。グッドファンのこっち見ない。
Your competitors better catch up like 10 steps ahead. Look, this promethazine got me leaning like a cholo in the club. I'm 20 deep. I don't be riding solo. Pull some bad bitches, they vanilla and cocoa. They wanna take some photos when we kick it out in Soho. Chicks are showing tits and popping pussy for my promo. Told them like juvenile, baby, move it for me slow-mo. Then I'm right back to the block, cause I keep getting moto. I be flipping, not shrinking. I don't give a fuck about no-ho, no-ho. This nigga name ain't D-Lo, but pimpin' these bitches and stacking this bread forever be my stilo. This is B-Eazy, that dude in the trap making pass smooth. If I ever go broke, then I'm about to pull a jack move. Since a nigga healthy, I don't even gotta worry. With my bitch from Fiji, eating tandoori and chicken curry. That ism is really indie. My pimp game international. I design my own clothes, so I be always looking fashionable. Here's a couple facts about me that y'all didn't know. Some of y'all be getting bread, but I be getting bigger, dawg. I got bigger guns and a whole lot of bad. And we are activated, and we gonna get right into this thing like I've been talking about. Let me pull some of these banners down. Looks like we've been already joined by some illustrious guests and maybe some trollish guests. G-Rock, sometimes G-Rock, you do kind of get into the, trolling, but I do respect the contrarian view. So shout out to G-Rock Blues, and Roger Meadows came through. You was number one. You came in the chat, numero uno, in the building. So let's get straight into this. This video that I'm going to be reacting to, just give me a second to take these banners down. Okay, so the video that I will be reacting to is from a channel called Second Thought. And this video is titled Whitewashing 101, How to Rewrite Black History. And I would be remiss without saying happy Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I know there's always some people that are trying to say, hey, this is wokety woke, even though they can't clearly define what is woke about it. And there's nothing wrong with being woke. Being woke means that you're enlightened. Being woke means that you're informed, that you're awake. Otherwise, you're asleep, and usually they call those sheep. But let's get into this video, because there's been this deliberate effort to whitewash, rinse, and repeat the legacy of MLK to make him out to this pacifist. Some people go out and try to discredit him and say he was a horrible man. He cheated on his wife. People like the late, disgusting Charlie Kirk. Let's just hypothetically say that was true, that MLK allegedly cheated on his wife. That wouldn't be a disqualifier, because Charlie Kirk and others like him was groveling and bending the knee and bending over to Donald Trump, who cheated on his wife while she was pregnant. So it's not a deal breaker for Trump But somehow, with this alleged mythical story about MLK, it is a deal breaker. So let's just get right into this video.
If you win, we'll fly to Asia.
After this ad.
Possible by the generous support of my patrons on Patreon. We recently did a major overhaul of our patrons-only Discord server. So if you'd like to join our growing community, members of the but actually you'll find this we did. But actually you'll find this very interesting. This time we're doing it we're doing it's actually very different because this time it's gonna be even more materialisty or something. Okay, jokes aside, here's the truth. It's Black History Month, the shortest month of the year, the only month corporations acknowledge that black people exist, the month the FBI tweets nice things about MLK despite once sending him a letter urging him to kill himself. And I want to hijack this consumerist bandwagon to look at some figures within the Black revolutionary tradition.
So this is another thing that get whitewashed. They have the federal FBI building. It's called the J. Edgar Hoover building. J. Edgar Hoover, a notorious, vile, anti-black bigot. He was discriminatory towards other groups, but he didn't hate those other groups. He said the biggest threat to the country was that a black messiah would rise up and uplift his people and lead his people essentially to the promised land. I'm paraphrasing, but y'all can look up what he exactly said. But he did use the words Black Messiah. We commemorate him as if he's just some virtuous person. We like to talk about this as a Christian nation and we like to talk about morality. But then we celebrate a bunch of immoral people. And then we try to say, oh, look at MLK. And look, I'm glad that they're showing him in color because isn't there a lot of photos you see of MLK? It's always in black and white and grainy. They had color technology then. They want you to see it black and white and grainy to make you think it was so long ago. But many people's parents were alive when MLK was assassinated. So it really wasn't that long ago, was it? But what I really want to emphasize is that the FBI was complicit. It's funny because it's not really funny. It's very diabolical, insidious, and sinister. But the FBI, they never orchestrated. They always talk about black culture and degenerates and gang culture, black on black crime. They never organized to assassinate gang leaders that they complain about. But they will assassinate pastors, preachers, activists, people who want to uplift the community, people who's not attacking the white community, but just wants to enrich and empower the black community. They'll assassinate those people and leave the gang members to run amok and say, see, that's just the culture. So what if we gave them guns in the Iran-Contras COINTELPRO? We didn't force them to shoot the gun. Yeah, no one forced you to dump the drugs there and help facilitate the trade either. You weren't forced to do that. How about some personal responsibility? See, the black people are being held accountable by going to jail or being slaughtered in the street. Who's been held accountable from the bureaucratic standpoint that's codifying this in law, that's codifying in law that there shouldn't be a black messiah or we're going to assassinate him? They dropped bombs on particular community. Who was held accountable for that?
We're going to talk about the recuperation of their identities and struggles, and the way their characters get canonized in the American historical tradition. The point of this episode is to try to correct some narratives. History is written by the victors, and sometimes that means the parts they don't like get cut out. So, we're going to bring back some of the cut out parts and try to paint a fuller picture. Try to get a better idea of what went on and why those parts get cut out in the first place. And before we do, I've got to say that this video will definitely not give you the full picture. I've got like 20 minutes here, and these are whole-ass human beings who were full of contradictions, who changed their mind, who gave hundreds of speeches, and who had to constantly adapt to changing circumstances. There is no single MLK or Nelson Mandela, but there is more to them than you probably already know. And one of the biggest parts of their stories that gets cut out is the deep influence of socialist thought on their philosophies and political goals. So let's talk about that. A good place to start with all this is MLK's politics. Martin Luther King Jr. is a great person to talk about because no other figure is more celebrated and one-dimensional in American history, second only maybe to decorated war hero and Purple Heart recipient Flat Stanley. Oh, wait, he's two-dimensional.
One of the great challenges in this world is knowing enough about a subject to think you're right.
Thank you, I'm here all week.
Please clap.
Because today, it's pretty difficult to find anybody who doesn't claim MLK's legacy as their own. Everyone loves to say how much they love MLK and how they 100% agree with him. And to show how much...
And that's a lie. People didn't even agree with him when he was alive. So according to the research, and y'all can look at the national polling data, I have my qualms about the polling because I think that some people call it a snapshot in time. I think they're used to over exaggerate. However, they could be extremely spot on. But how many people have actually taken some of these polls? So they'll take a poll and they'll say, this is what America thinks. 50% of America thinks this about whatever said subject. And then you'll look and you'll see, and sometimes they've only polled 500 people or 5,000 people, or let's just say 500,000 people in a nation of over 300 million. And yeah, they'll say, yeah, well, we mixed it up. We got people of color, we got whites, we got this and stuff. Yeah, who knows how accurate they are? So all you can just kind of do is believe your eyes, believe the conversations that you actually have. So you can take it with a grain of salt. But I know whenever the polling supports someone's point of view, they think that it's gospel. Whenever the polling is contrarian to their point of view, then they start to scrutinize it. But in 1966, MLK had a 63% unfavorable rating. So after launching the Chicago Freedom Movement against the Northern de facto segregation and speaking against the Vietnam War. So really think about that. He spoke against the Vietnam War, and this was one of the things that contributed to him being unpopular. And he was fighting for integration, which he later regretted. This made him unpopular. In 1967, a year later, he became even more unpopular, 72% unfavorable rating. This was following his Beyond Vietnam speech, and he also launched a Poor People's Campaign. That sounds like all lives matter, right? As much as he was standing up for Black people, he was on some rising tide lifts all boat, all lives matter, lift every voice. That's the type of stuff that he was on. Now some people have issues with him because of that, but this is what he believed was right. So now many people who were against it then, now they're hijacking it and try to take it as their own and say, hey, we always believed in it. You don't believe in it now and you didn't believe in it then. At the time of his assassination, he had a 75% unfavorable rating. So year after year after year, they start hating him more and more and more. But why did they hate him? He wanted to end segregation. How dare you nigger? He spoke against the war in Vietnam. You're a communist nigger. He wanted to lift up all poor people, not just Black people, poor people in general. You're a stupid nigger. Right before he was assassinated, he had already given the I Have a Dream speech and all of this stuff. And he got assassinated with a 75% unfavorable rating. And many of people's moms and grandmas, they hated MLK when they grew up. But you grew up learning about him in school, and many people's parents and grandparents were looking you in your eye, knowing that they called him a nigger, Even if they didn't call him one, they heard other people calling him and they ha-ha'd and kiki'd and was okay with it. So yeah, this wasn't that long ago. And not only that, people love Reagan. Reagan hated him. Reagan hated MLK. He hated black people. Him and Nixon was on the phone calling us niggers and all the stuff. So, hey, I say all of that stuff is fine. But what's not fine is you lying about it. It's not fine because, you know, you guys say this is a Christian nation and you're supposed to be about morality. So in that regard, it's not fine. The reason why I say it's fine is because that means that whatever smoke people have for you, you should be prepared for it. You said it was okay to call other people names and slurs and epithets. It was okay, right? So it should be okay if people are calling you. You discriminated against people. You redlined them. You wanted your all white enclaves. Fine. Have at it. But when other people say, hey, we don't want y'all anywhere near our stuff, you know, separate but equal. Isn't that what you want? Then they want to try to say it's reverse racism, even though they don't want nothing to do with you. They just want to be able to control you, subjugate you, and, you know, be condescending. But let's get back into the video.
They love him, they'll happily take the monument of his life's work, his countless campaigns, protests, and efforts to redress the injustices of American life, and boil them down to just one speech. And really, to just one line of that one speech. And everybody loves that one line.
Our ears that we must judge one another by the content of our character and not the color of our skin.
Now, he wanted people to be judged by the character and not by the color of their skin.
On the color of my skin, but on the content of my character.
We should judge our fellow citizens by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin.
This obsession with the content of their character line and the I have a dream speech in general is no accident, by the way.
And that's just utterly pathetic. He said so much more. He wrote letters. They'll always say that, but they won't say what the FBI director said to him. Wanted him to kill himself. So if he wanted him to kill himself, you think that's all he said, right? They'll call us a nigger, but they won't say that the FBI director was calling him a nigger. Get over the word. Okay, fine. We got over the word. So if we're supposed to get over the word, shouldn't you get over the fact that Ronald Reagan and Nixon was saying that? Don't call it woke when people expose them for being bigoted, right? So it's super funny, though, that they say, oh, get over the word. It's not that big a deal. OK, then tell me all of the presidents that was saying that. It's not a big deal. So it shouldn't be a big deal to tell. Right. LBJ. Yeah, he did all of these legislations that was supposed to help people. But he was a flaming, flaming homo, but also a bigoted anti-black racism. All of these presidents would be calling us nigger left and right. That was just the norm. So if it was the norm, why are we trying to sweep it under the rug and whitewash it? It's just a word, right? So why are you trying to censor it? You're saying don't worry about the word, but you're worried about the word, which is why you're trying to censor it and act like people didn't say it. That's why you're saying the N-word instead of saying nigger, which is what you want to say. Just say it. Nothing is stopping you. If you don't want to say it, then you won't say it. But now people are acting like a victim as if they can't say a word. No one has ever stopped anyone from saying that word. Many people say that word. They'll blame rap music, and then they're in Walmart with Taylor Swift playing, saying, "What's up, my nigga?" Like, okay, how did rap music make you say that? You know, but let's get back into it.
It's been part of the tactical recuperation of MLK's legacy by the American state and its defenders for decades, an effort that is immortalized in the Reagan years. Why Reagan? Because Reagan is the guy who made MLK Day a national holiday. As such, you'll sometimes hear dweebs claim this 6'1" flake of dandruff brought to life was actually proof of how the great American patriot can reconcile the country's racist history and become the biggest champion of racial justice. But that's wrong. Because for a guy like Reagan to become the MLK Day guy, a lot needed to change about how America viewed MLK. The Reverend could no longer be the radical extremist despised by over 2/3 of the country, the most hated man in America. He had to become an empty shell for any vague sentiment of justice. And, most importantly, he had to be the colorblind guy. Because how did Reagan really feel about the civil rights movement? Let's take this quote from an article in The Nation. Reagan opposed every major piece of civil rights legislation adopted by Congress, including the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and the Fair Housing Act of 1968. As president, Reagan supported tax breaks for schools that discriminated on the basis of race, opposed the extension of the Voting Rights Act, vetoed the Civil Rights Restoration Act, and decimated the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. When you combine Reagan's political record.
So Reagan was one of the worst presidents ever. He was one of the bigoted presidents ever. And people try to act like he was this bastion of conservatism. What was so conservative about him? Some people on the woke, wacky right, like Charlie Kirk, they hated MLK. So did Reagan. But this shows you how fake he was. Even though he hated him, he passed a day for him to give some symbolism, as if he's throwing a bone to the country. He wasn't throwing a bone to the blacks, because he was saying that MLK, his dream has been lived out, and now we live in a colorblind society, and racism is a thing of the past. Then, as he was saying that, he helped other schools discriminate on the basis of race. So Ronald Reagan was a very weak and a very pathetic man. Talk about all of the vile anti-black stuff that he said. At the time where he painted black women, black people in general, but black women specifically as the welfare queens, it was more white women on welfare, just like it is now. And just like it is now, people say, but per capita. And they try to frame this as says, yeah, there's more white people, but yeah, we're the majority of the country, so it's to expect it. No, actually, it's not to be expected. Because y'all told me that you have a superior culture. You don't like handouts. You pull yourself up by your bootstrap. You don't beg the government. So actually, it doesn't make sense. On the flip side, y'all say black people are low IQ, come from fatherless homes, they're cultureless, right? So maybe that would make sense that these alleged low IQ, lazy people would be on welfare. But it doesn't make sense why so many of your people are on there. Or maybe it's because people are on there and not just all just these lazy bums. So as soon as you turn that mirror on them and turn that logic on them, they start sweating, stuttering, and stammering. But Reagan, I don't know what there is to celebrate about him. And not only that, Reagan was against foundational Black American freedmen getting reparations, but he signed reparations for Japanese interned. And people will say, well, I never owned any slaves. Well, did you intern any Japanese people? My family never interned anyone in Japanese. My family wasn't calling Japanese people slurs. My family didn't do the Yellow Peril, the Chinese Exclusion Act, but my taxpayer dollars went towards giving them restitution, restorative justice, and reparations in the form of cash payments. And people weren't saying, I never locked up and interned Japanese people. Ronald Reagan, the bigot, he signed on that. And all of these MAGA maniacs who are against open borders, Ronald Reagan, like I told you, both parties support open borders. Ronald Reagan did a mass amnesty. The reason why he did that is to create a further buffer group. This is where they created Hispanics. Hispanics have always been classified as white. Mexicans and other groups fought to be legally classified as white. And they say, you know what? We're going to make you guys Hispanic and Latino, which people don't even know the difference, right? Because it's just so nebulous. They're trying to make it some pseudo ethnic group / race. Oh, no, it's not a race, but they act like it is a race. And then when you get down to the science, it's not a race. And it just goes back and forth. When you ask people, okay, what's your race? I'm Latino, but that's not a race. What's your race? Hispanic, but that's not a race. So what's your race? I'm Hispanic. Okay. There's no race called Hispanic. So this was created right around this time, and Ronald Reagan gave mass amnesty to create this buffer group and say, look, we're not bigoted. It's just only those niggas over there. They're the ones who can't figure it out. So he gave a mass amnesty, a bunch of goodies, giveaways, and guarantees, handouts, the same handouts that he said you blacks shouldn't be asking for. They gave them to the new arrivals. No different than, look at what they're doing in California now, giving the new arrivals health care, helping them with start businesses. Ronald Reagan was doing that, a right winger. Both parties support open borders. Mass amnesty done under Ronald Reagan. So let's get back into it.
With his symbolic stance on race issues, his deriding welfare recipients as welfare queens, his employing states' rights rhetoric in the same county where, in 1964, 3 of the most infamous murders of civil rights workers occurred, his initial opposition to establish a national holiday to commemorate Martin Luther King Jr., the Reagan legacy begins to lose much of its luster. And that's putting this outwardly racist guy's legacy extremely mildly. So then, why would Reagan suddenly flip on this issue, and why would the "I have a dream" line become the rallying call for every...
So G-Rock, you're already trying to whitewash what Charlie Kirk said. You can look it up, man. Maybe you're ill-informed or just unprepared to have this conversation. Him railing against him. He said the Civil Rights Act was a mistake. That's what he said. And not only that, he said he wasn't a good person. The same dude that said MLK wasn't a good person was glazing and praising Trump. He basically had Trump's nuts in his mouth when he was alive. He's not alive to have his nuts in his mouth. So what are we really talking about here?
Politician trying to score easy popularity points. 2 academics explain it pretty clearly in this article. The focus on "I have a dream" in public discourse also made King ripe for appropriation because the emphasis on one speech and one issue served to obscure King.
And salute to the people in the chat that slid through. John Sinatra, what it do? Hank McGurk, Braxton, MWP, and anybody I missed. Salute to y'all for coming through. Travis Murphy. All right.
Many other speeches and writings, as well as his less successful ventures, such as his effort to desegregate Chicago, his opposition to the Vietnam War, and the Poor People's Campaign. As early as 1964, for example, King praised the Indian government's preferential college admissions policy for untouchables and argued that the United States must also find ways of atoning for the injustices she has inflicted upon her Negro citizens. The civil rights leader called for a broad-based and gigantic Bill of Rights for the disadvantaged, parallel with the GI Bill of Rights, for a guaranteed annual income, and for restitution in the form of radical changes in the structure of society that would provide African Americans with compensation in education, housing, employment, and healthcare. The public focus on "I Have a Dream," with its simple poetic beauty, overshadowed the specific proposals that King had recommended in order to achieve his dream, again making it much easier for President Reagan to appropriate King for his own uses. And those uses were gutting the policies MLK advocated for in favor of the Reaganomic free market liberalism that funneled wealth from the poor to the wealthy, which, given how wealth distribution looks in this country, also meant from many black people to very few white people.
I tried everything, coffee, Pomodoro, and binaural beats, but nothing stuck.
But the trick is that focusing exclusively on the "I have a dream" speech and misinterpreting it entirely allowed neoliberals to turn MLK into some weird conservative libertarian who wouldn't have wanted all this big government stuff that took into account people's race in its effort to redress the historical wrongs that made one group of colonized and enslaved people materially worse off than the people who colonized them. Dr. King would have hated redistribution, trust me. He loved and definitely wanted more of that sweet, sweet free market capitalism and the colonial and chattel slavery systems it was born out of. He doesn't want a race-conscious system of justice. That doesn't sound very colorblind, guys. Doesn't sound very content of our character. My best buddy MLK would definitely not approve. But of course he did. Don't be fooled. Actually listen to the guy for once.
And the greed and exploitation which create the sector of poverty in the midst of wealth. Again, we have deluded ourselves into believing the myth that capitalism grew and prospered out of the Protestant ethic of hard work and sacrifice. The fact is that capitalism was built on the exploitation and suffering of black slaves.
You heard that he said black slaves. He didn't say African. He didn't say African American. He said black. So, yeah, that's something that's always been inherently something that we embraced here. All of these other groups of melanated or so-called black people, they wasn't really leaning into it and standing onto it. That's why you hear, I'm not black, I'm Nigerian. I'm not black, I'm Haitian. I know black papi, I'm Dominican. But now if people think it's advantageous or they seen how much we stood up on business and for blackness, then other people was, you can't gatekeep blackness. It's like, actually, we can and we will.
And continues to thrive on the exploitation of the poor, both black and white, both here and abroad. And we must also realize that the problems of racial injustice and economic injustice cannot be solved without a radical redistribution of political and economic power. We must further recognize that the ghetto is a domestic colony. Black people must develop programs that will aid in the transfer of power and wealth into the hands of residents of the ghetto so that they may, in reality, control their own destinies.
And that's just 2 snippets out of many. Watch this video if you want a more complete picture. The point is, MLK readily admitted the incredible damage capitalism had produced in the United States, and explicitly advocated working through government measures, not the free market, to address the gulf between the poor and the rich, and the black and the white. Don't misinterpret me here, he didn't just advocate for government measures, but he certainly valued them tremendously. Anyway, the truth is that these are uncomfortable quotes for an American.
So Hank McGurk says, I'm not even anything but a white liberal and you've destroyed me. Who has destroyed you? Another white person? A white conservative? Definitely wasn't a black person. It was some white on white crime, Hank. Let me know. Do I need to call 911? Or maybe call ICE because they seem to be showing up everywhere. So let me know. Did someone touch you? Were you molested? What happened, Hank? What white person hurt you? Let me know. I'm concerned.
Society that has never realized MLK's goals, but that has very much elevated MLK to the status of an untouchable god of justice. There's a dichotomy there that's too difficult to actually address, too uncomfortable. He's great and perfect and a visionary, but also we didn't listen to him. How do you own up to something like that? Well, you don't. It's much easier to retell his story disingenuously, obscuring the parts which contradict the fantasy of American exceptionalism and the steady march of progress towards a more perfect democracy than it is to actually challenge the poverty that capitalism and the exploitation of non-white others has wrought. Textbooks are probably the place this contradiction between MLK as a hero and American society not.
I just want to say I like that term that he used, non-white others. I prefer that term than goofy terms like people of color. Please don't ever call me that, a POC. However, you have the freedom of speech. I'm a freedom of speech absolutist. If you refer to me as a person of color, or use the term people of color, that lets me know that I have to in turn use the language of calling you, especially if you're a white person, a person of no color. I'm a person of color. You're a person of no color. If a person of no color sounds stupid, person of color sounds equally stupid, especially considering Black American freedmen were the only ones considered colored in this country. Other groups were called colored, and they would, no, I know Black. I'm not colored. That's why Lebanese people, Egyptians, Syrians, Palestinians are all legally and socially classified as white. Nikki Nimrata Haley ran for governor. She didn't check. There was no box to check that said brown. She checked white.
Listening is most obvious. In an article titled The Limits of Master Narratives in History Textbooks, Professor of Education Derek P. Aldridge looks at exactly this phenomenon with MLK. He describes how American history textbooks, and the overarching narratives they shape and are shaped by, have killed the reality of MLK's life. By elevating him to the status of a messiah, framing him as the embodiment of the entire civil rights movement, and then trying to make him appear as if he was a moderate, the way American history has told MLK's struggle has served to sidestep questions too uncomfortable for it to ask. Questions of poverty, capitalism, and war. Questions that are not neatly answered with the end of Jim Crow laws. Questions that still endure to this day and that bring together MLK and the people he is so often depicted as an adversary of, like Malcolm X or the Black Panther Party. Giving a proper place to these facets of MLK's politics and his proximity to the figures only remembered as radicals would raise too many questions about the legitimacy of the...
I just wanted to touch on another thing. They always want to quote the things that MLK said that says, I have a dream, integration, little white boys and black boys playing together, etc. Things like that. Things that are feel-goodery. But when he talks about economic empowerment, he wasn't talking about begging. He wasn't asking for handouts. He was asking for justice. He said, give us the same things that you guys are giving the poor whites. Right before he was assassinated, weeks before, he talked about the Homestead Act, where they gave out millions and millions of acres to poor white immigrants. People who didn't build the country, people who came after the country was already constructed and wanted to reap the benefits. So this nation that say there's no such thing as a free lunch and pull yourself up by your bootstraps. No, they didn't say that to these people. So when MLK said, hey, look, we coming to get our check. We not coming there to beg. We want our check so we can build. We don't want to check and just be perpetual welfare queens and kings, as y'all like to call us. And for him switching his focus to the spiritual feel-goodery and kumbaya talk, as soon as he starts talking about economic justice, he gets assassinated. Tell me about the FBI, CIA assassinating any gang leaders. They always whine, you niggers are degenerate, crime this, right? You can't even walk the street, right? They hate hearing about niggers doing crime on the news, right? Why didn't y'all assassinate none of the gang leaders? They say cut off the head of the snake, but they didn't cut off the head of the snake of any gang members. I mean, seems pretty logical, right? They want to clean up crime. Instead, go after Fred Hampton in his 20s, doing a rainbow coalition, which includes white people, includes Latinos, indigenous, everyone, every group, right? Yeah, we got to kill him. You know, Malcolm X. He was even when Malcolm X was extra radical, they just kind of let him run amok. Then when he was radical, but not only that, he was refining his message. Oh yeah, we got to get him out of there. MLK, when he was cool with getting dog sicked on him and he was pushing his peaceful campaign, cool. Soon as he talks about economic justice, he wasn't even talking about taking up arms. But words can be weaponized. And they said his word, his clout, his reverence and acumen is way too strong. And there goes that word again, the Black Messiah. So they try to build this figure up to be this mythical Black Messiah so we can tear them down. And that's what this nation has always done. And then they try to say, oh, well, why doesn't no one want to step up and be a Black Messiah? They're looking for another target that they can just put their ire and vitriol towards and say this one person represents the entire community. So once we cut this person off, that's the head of the snake. There are many Black people that disagree with MLK and many people who did. So he didn't speak for the entire community, and he wasn't the civil rights movement. He was a civil rights leader. He's not the movement. He was a leader in the movement. The movement still moves without him. That's how it's supposed to be.
The narrative American textbooks are so attached to: constant, predictable, and certain progress. Because if textbooks started depicting MLK accurately as an anti-war, anti-imperialist, anti-capitalist, they would risk undermining the image of American democracy as the perfect representation of the will of the people and the true realization of justice. The truth is that King's dreams never came true for most of the issues he fought against. And even if they had, MLK was not the civil rights movement. He was just one face of it. And the civil rights movement was not a single issue movement. It had a long list of demands that still remain unheard. He is not the proof that American democracy works, and he was not an enemy to the radicals that shared his same ideas. But here in the US, we don't just settle on whitewashing our own guys. We'll whitewash your guys too, for free, because it makes us look good.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop it there. Maybe I'll revisit that on another segment. I really want to cover that one because that was the whitewashing of Black history in general, but he took the time to specifically focus on Dr. MLK. And since I'm on the West Coast, it still is MLK Day for probably about 70 more minutes. Just want to give salutations and reverence to that. But I'm going to transition into another story. And this one, I'm going to be discussing how some people in the Latino community are wanting Black Americans to go crash out against ICE. How many times do I have to say this? This is what y'all voted for. I will vote for Donald Trump. I will vote for Donald Trump. Like, what am I missing here? They say close to half of the ICE patrol are Latino. Close to half of Border Patrol are Latino. So not only did they vote for this, they signed up for this. So who am I to go against the will of the Latino community? And they're not even the only ones being deported. This shows you the anti-Blackness, and this shows you how there's no POC or Black and Brown coalition. There have been only less than 6% of African and Caribbean immigrants that came through during Joe Biden's open borders. They're being deported at a disproportionately higher rate, at a 30% higher rate. You know, the people that love to say per capita, well, here's some per capita. That the African and Caribbean immigrants are being deported at a 30% higher rate than the Latinos. But do you hear any of that? No, all you hear is they're going after Latinos, and if you speak Spanish and blah, blah, blah. Then they keep trying to convince and say they're going into Black neighborhoods. Yeah, of course they're going into Black neighborhoods, because when they open the border, what neighborhoods do they dump them in? Y'all saw what happened when they went to Martha's Vineyard. They dumped a bunch of illegal, undocumented aliens, however you want to call them, They dumped them in Martha's Vineyard. They gave them a bottled water, a pat on the back, and said, "You're out of here, buddy." Then they transferred them into a black neighborhood. So now when ICE goes in a black neighborhood, they're saying, "Oh my God, ICE is in a black neighborhood." Of course they're in a black neighborhood. They're looking for all of the illegal, undocumented aliens that Joe Biden and Greg Abbott helped put into black communities. Of course they're going to be there. Why would they go in a white community? There's no undocumented immigrants there. So let me get ready to pull this video up. Before I pull that video up, let me just hit y'all with a visual while I'm getting the video prepared. Appreciate y'all. Everyone viewing this concurrently and on the replay, gang. Y'all can be anywhere in the world. Y'all chose to be here with me, at least momentarily. And for that, I thank you. Give me one moment. I'm going to pull this video up. So I'm going to hit y'all with 1 minute intermission.
That was nasty, bro, like a nasty hoe. I got a nasty flow. My baddie, though, is a classy bro. I manager and she escort. International exports. I got hardware, my tech support. Really about that business, cause I'm that dude that you just adore. Used to be on that block, equipped with a Glock. I sold all kind of dope. 10 toes down on the pavement. I send that bitch like an envelope. Enclosed with a love letter. I love cheddar, so I grind hard. I be putting that work in, but I ain't punching no time card. When it comes to being a boss, nigga, I am the epitome. You keep hating, belly aching, but it takes more to get rid of me. I am full of energy, but I ain't feeling jittery. I'm just grinding, shining like a diamond, looking glittery. Literally, I just left the bank to deposit racks. Holla back, don't want no shoes and clothes because my closet's packed. I got hella different kicks just like Lionel Messi. Still be rocking Jordans, but I prefer Giuseppe.
Okay, and we are activated. So this video is a reaction from a channel called Woken Africa. Now, I'm just going to play some of the clips. Shout out to this channel. They did a good compilation of the clips, and I'll just fast forward once the creator is speaking. I'll give my commentary to the clips. So let me just close this right here. Let me know if you guys have any issues hearing this. So let's commence. So this title is Latinos are questioning why Black America isn't protesting ICE. Huh? How many times have they keep saying, we're a larger population than you, which is even some whole manufactured stuff as well. But I'm not even going to get into that right now. They love to talk about that this is a nation of immigrants. So they should be asking immigrants to crash out for them. Black Americans, specifically foundational Black American freedmen, we're not immigrants. And I'm not saying that we can't crash out for people, but we've been doing that for decade after decade after decade. And what has it gotten us? Not a damn thing. So no, it's time for everyone else to use their collective IQs, their collective resources, and they should be crashing out. Hey, if y'all need some advice because we've been crash out dummies for years, we'll give y'all some advice from the sidelines. 'Tis the season to hold your own nuts. What have they been telling us? You guys are at the bottom. You guys have a degenerate culture. You know what? We need to fix that degenerate culture. We need to go and get our IQs up. We need to be pooling resources so we don't have time to be protesting in the streets. There's only 24 hours in the day, right? If you need to help your kid, get their IQ up to get to college, to participate in extracurricular activities, to clean up your neighborhood, to be tutoring, to mentoring, to focus on your health and fitness, that takes time, right? If we're at the bottom, we don't have a lot of time to lose or a lot of time to waste. So all these other groups, they say, well, we're lazy. Look, well, if we don't come out there, it's because we're too lazy. If we didn't go out there and protest, it's because we were too dumb with our tiny Negro brains. We couldn't figure out what to do. Which one is it? Because people will stereotype us as lazy, but when it's time to protest, where are the blacks? Where are the blacks? I mean, I would presume that they're home being lazy. So suddenly we're lazy, but then when there's a protest, people are looking for the people that they called lazy. Does this make any sense to you? Let's get into the video.
I mean, maybe you guys had a conversation that I wasn't a part of, but I didn't know the Black community turned against us. But thank you. Now I understand that the Black community is not our ally and that they're all assuming, guys, that us as Mexicans, we all voted for Trump. They're assuming that we're all racist and they're assuming that we all hate Black people. They have stereotyped us and put us into a category. So now they hate us because it's all of our fault. See, the actions of all Mexicans is my fault. Just the same way, I guess maybe we could do the same. Black people also voted for Trump. So should we?
I'm going to let the video play and I'm going to rewind it back. Unfortunately, many in your community has done the same, which is why you guys have names for us. Mayate, Chango, and all these other things. You don't just say Mayate. You got to add it with emphasis. Pinche Mayate, right? We don't have names like that. We don't have sayings. Blancamiento, mejoró la raza. Advance the race, which means lighten, brighten, whiten the race. We don't have sayings like that. If you're trying to whiten your race, then you're inherently have a prejudice towards Black people and Blackness. You can say that, hey, well, I don't call them Mayates and I don't use the N-word. Yeah, but you still look at people with darker skin as if you're superior. It's ingrained in that culture. Now, whether you adopt and assimilate to that mindset of the culture, that's something different. But to act like it's not pervasive in your culture, that would be a lie. Mexicans specifically, I'm only talking about Mexicans because she says she's Mexican. Mexicans, there's no race called Mexican. Mexicans fought to be legally classified as white in America. They've always been classified as white until Nixon came in and they said, okay, look, well, you guys are going to be Hispanic Latino. And that's a relatively new term that came into the 70s. Mexico was created in the 1500s. So this whole time they were white and then boom, here, let's create a buffer group. So you guys will be Hispanic Latino. Which people, like I said, don't even really know the difference. So if you ask her, this woman on your screen, what race is she? She'll say that she's Mexican, but there's no race called Mexican. Well, I'm Latino. Yeah, but there's no race called Latino. Yeah, I'm Hispanic. That's not a race. I'm Spanish. That's not a race. So people just dance around to try to figure out what their race is or to admit what their race is. So then they say, okay, well, why are you guys making it about race? And then when we say, okay, we're making it about our heritage and our ethnic identity, which is why we're foundational Black Americans. No, you have to make it about race. You're Black and you're African and you're sub-Saharan. It's like, huh? Like, never been to Africa, don't know anything about Africa. And once again, why are you trying to make it about race when you just told me not to? So people try to pick and choose and make things about race and ethnicity and nationality when they believe it's beneficial to their situation.
Assume that all Black people are not our ally then? Should we assume that all Black people are Trump supporters? Should we assume that all Black people are racist? No, right? And I wouldn't do that. We all voted for Trump. They're assuming that we're all racist. And they're assuming that we all hate Black people. They have stereotyped us and put us into a category. So now they hate us because it's all of our fault. See, the actions of all Mexicans is my fault. Just the same way, I guess maybe we could do the same. Black people also voted for Trump. So should we assume that all Black people are not our ally then? Should we assume that all Black people are Trump supporters? Should we assume that all Black people are racist? No, right? And I wouldn't do that because I'm not racist.
I cannot be the only one thinking this.
So you guys know how the whole how Los Angeles is going through the immigration thing where ICE is popping up and just taking, children and families and everything. And we kind of already knew this was going to happen to a certain extent. I thought it would happen with like criminals and people that are in gangs and people that were not doing good things for this country. Not
I've seen plenty of power banks over my 15 years of reviewing tech, but this Ridge one quickly became a favorite. So this?
Literally hardworking people. But that's not the point. The point is that I remember back in the day when the whole Black Lives Matter movement was going on. And I supported it. I spoke up about it. I posted something about it. And I said something, right? Even though I'm not African American, honestly, why would I care? Because it is still something that's going on, and I did feel like it was unfair, and something should.
Here we go again. We already know where this is going. I'm going to rewind it back so we can just break this thing down. We already know what she's going to get into. She's saying, oh, well, I'm not African American, so I still spoke up for the BLM. People got this sick and twisted thing where if they wore a BLM shirt or they posted hashtag say his name, then somehow they think that that's that's them standing with the Black community. That's what you call symbolic solidarity, a symbolic gesture. There's nothing tangible about that. Hey, thank you. But the Black community was going to be pushing forward. They were going to be protesting whether you did a hashtag or not. So this is what people do. They try to do a hashtag and say, look, well, I stood up for BLM. You know how many Black people got unalived by the police after George Floyd? There's been multiple tragedy after tragedy. Black women have the highest maternal death rate when giving birth. There's so many other things that you can do to kind of help uplift the Black community, to bring awareness to help the Black community. You can advocate for reparations. You can advocate for an anti-Black hate crime bill. There's plenty of specific, tangible policies. But all people can say is, I stood up with the Blacks during BLM. BLM was in 2020. What were you doing prior to 2020? So you came out, bought a George Floyd shirt and put up a Black Power fist, and now suddenly what? We have to go crash out ICE for you? What the hell is this amiga talking about? Or senora talking about? Let me rewind this back. So she also said, yeah, we kind of knew what this was going to happen. Did y'all forget? I would vote for Donald Trump. I would vote for Donald Trump. Did y'all forget? Y'all voted for this. Not only that, y'all signed up to do the job. Many of the ICE workers, Latino. Many of the Border Patrol, Latino. Y'all knew what was going to happen. He was calling y'all rapists, thugs. He said you guys were not sending y'all best. He called many of the Central, South America, and African countries shitholes. What the hell did y'all think was going to happen? But like she said, oh, we knew he was going to do this. We just thought he was going to get the criminals. When they said that, who did they think the criminals was? Now, what they don't want to get deeper is they thought that the criminals was us. They thought that Black Americans were the criminals because they always talk about 1350 and paint us as the face of crime. No, he was talking about Tren de Aragua. He was talking about MS-13. That's what he was talking about. Of course, he's getting people of all racial and ethnic backgrounds. But when they voted for it, they didn't think it was going to be them. Okay, well, now you're finding out the hard way. Time for you to hold your own nuts. This is what you voted for. Who am I to go against the will of the people?
The point is that I remember this country, not literally hardworking people. This was going to happen to a certain extent. How Los Angeles is going through the immigration thing where ICE is popping up and just taking, children and families and everything.
And she's lying. You see how she just vaguely said ICE is taking children and families, taking them where? Where are they taking them? So many families are being given the option, hey, look, we can try to find a sponsor here. Do you have a family member that we can leave your kids with? But people are going to say, nah, I'm not leaving my kids. I want my kids to go with me. So then they say, all right, here, cool. Like Tom Homan said, we gonna keep families together. So instead of deporting you, we gonna deport your entire family. And then they say, they're deporting kids. No, they deported the family. Their mom and dad was here illegally. So instead of leaving the kids here, they kept the family together. Isn't that what you want? Instead, they say, no, the kids are citizens. So if the kids stay here, then that's family separation. Then they start crying about family separation. So the best way is, if you're going to deport the people who are here illegally, deport them all so the family stays together. That's not cruel. It's more cruel to deport the family, have them crying, and then the kid stays with some random sponsor or maybe a family member.
We kind of already knew this was going to happen to a certain extent. I thought it.
We kind of already knew this was going to happen to a certain extent, which means they were okay with it to a certain extent. But what's the extent? Right? Their extent is different. So the whole people that are trying to act like they're against deportations, they support deportation. They just want polite, cute, and cuddly deportation. Obama was the deporter in chief. It's a drop in the bucket comparing Trump's numbers to Obama. Nowhere even sniffing towards the numbers that Obama did. But since Trump is doing more theatrical and more controversial deportations, people are acting like it's just a war zone and people are being snatched up and shiver me timbers. Everyone is too scared to go outside. Like, is that really the case? Like, let's stop playing. So since I'm doing commentary, I'll rewind it back a little bit to play. So, you get the full context. Hold on.
Immigration thing where ICE is popping up and just taking, children and families and everything. And we kind of already knew this was going to happen to a certain extent. I thought it would happen with like criminals and people that are in gangs and people that were not doing good things for this country, not literally hardworking people. But that's not the point. The point is that I remember back in the day when the whole black.
And there's another thing too. Just because someone works hard doesn't mean you have a right to stay here. I know that's people don't want to hear that, and that's cruel. But y'all know my acronym by now. CESL, SESL. Same energy, same logic. Think about the majority of these countries where people are immigrating from. If you go to their countries illegally, unauthorized, undocumented, and you're a super hard worker, they're not going to excuse you committing a crime to get into their country just because you work hard. It's not. But we're supposed to excuse that while at the same time saying that we're a nation of laws. Which one is it? If we're from open borders, then let's just say that and open the border and let the entire globe flood in. But if we're saying we're not for that and we are a nation of laws and security and all this other stuff, then we need to live up to the values that we claim. We can't try to pick and choose when it's advantageous for the oligarchs and the bigwigs so that they can flood the country with cheap indentured servant labor to stagnate wages, increase housing costs and everything. Let's just say what it really is, you know what I mean? But all of these countries that people try to fight for, they don't fight for you to go to their country, right? People will be fleeing their country because, this is the greatest land of milk and honey. But what if I say, you know what, I'm tired of America. I want to go to your country. Once you go to your country, so they'll come over here and they should just be able to waltz in. No one's illegal on stolen land. Y'all know all that saying, right? Okay, cool. Mexico was stolen. You come over here and then I go over into Mexico. What do y'all think is going to happen? And if I print a shirt and said no one's illegal on stolen land and I stood up for the ICE raids, do you think I'm going to be treated fairly? Giving welfare, health care, housing, preferential treatment in certain work. So the things that we're supposed to crash out and advocate for here, no one is in their homelands advocating for that. No one is fighting for that because they're fighting to get over here. So if I go over there, what has anyone set up or fought for us, right? Who was the Mexican version of Martin Luther King? Who was the Venezuelan version of Martin Luther King? Who was the Irish version of Martin Luther King? So any of these countries you go to, there's a reason why people are fleeing from their beloved homeland here. And you go there, no one there is trying to fight for the same opportunities that are afforded here. They're just trying to come here and then wag their fingers and say, nah, 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 boo, boo. You guys been here for X amount of hundreds of years, you know? Why can't you do this or why can't you do that? Why couldn't you do that in your homeland? Why didn't you fight in your homeland? You come after someone else has already fought and laid the groundwork here. And instead of being grateful, you're more antagonistic. And, you know, I mean, this is what you get, you know.
And people that were not doing good things for this country, not literally hardworking people. But that's not the point. The point is that I remember back in the day when the whole Black Lives Matter movement was going on. And I supported it. I spoke up about it. I posted something about it. And I said something, right? Even though I'm not African American, honestly, why would I care? Because it is still something that's going on, and I did feel like it was unfair and something.
But just like she said, her initial response was to say, I'm not Black, so why should I care? So can I have that same energy? I'm not Latino, why should I care? I'm not an undocumented illegal alien, why should I care? I'm not an immigrant, why should I care? Right? This was her initial response. And then since it went viral, it went mega viral because it went global, it went universal. So the whole planet was standing up. So then she finally jumps into the fray, and it wasn't like she did much. All she did was probably just do a hashtag or say Black Lives Matter. Oh, okay, that didn't cost you anything. And she's trying to make it seem like, well, I didn't have to say anything. Her saying it didn't change anything. So I wish you didn't say anything. So then you couldn't have made this idiotic video.
I said something, right? Even though I'm not. But that's not the point. The point is that I remember back in the day when the whole Black Lives Matter movement was going on. And I supported it. I spoke up about it. I posted something about it. And I said something, right? Even though I'm not African American, honestly, why would I care? Because it is still something that's going on, and I did feel like it was unfair. And something should, be said. I know people are going to protest.
And I haven't been able to catch up everyone that's in the chat. Salute to all of the newcomers. The likes are for free. They won't cost you a fee. Make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell. I did see the lovely Jackie Gaines in building, doing her duties on the mod. Look, I'm all for the people. Like, if you gonna troll, at least bring some level of sophistication and scholarship. But also, if you just spamming and making things annoying or hard for the mods, they have the permission and the power to time you out. If not, let me know and I will get you up out of here. Not because I'm about censorship, but we do got to have order. If this is a nation of laws, we got to have some structure over here too. And that's law.
Was unfair, and something should, be said. I know people are going to protest. I mean, could I have done more? Of course. But at the time, I did not. But at least I did speak up about it. What bothers me right now is,
so she could have did more. She didn't do more. So you're not in your position to wag your fingers at anybody, right?
That like a lot of celebrities or people, maybe influencers that we listen to, no one's saying anything. And I guess everybody has their own thoughts and opinions, and I completely respect that. I just feel like whenever they're discriminating against the other minorities, I'm gonna be quiet and I'm not gonna say anything, because where were you guys at right now? Like I said, I'm not African American.
So once again, she's trying to make the deportations about her community. And this is why I keep telling people there is no black and brown. And you see this chick's complexion. This is not brown, but that's for another story. I laid out, and no one has to take my word for it. Look it up. There was only 6% of African and Caribbean immigrants allowed in under Joe Biden's open border regime, right? They're being deported at a 30% higher rate than Latinos. And she's not even mentioning them. She's only caring that the Latinos are being deported, right? So if that's the case, then I should only be caring about the other melanated immigrants being deported. So is it all lives matter, all immigrant matter, or is it only Latino immigrants matter? She wants people to crash out specifically for Latinos, and she's trying to compare George Floyd having a rogue cop kneel on his neck for 9 minutes to people who knowingly came in the country illegally, and all they're telling them is like, you just got to go home. You can come back in. You just got to come the right way. They're not telling them, leave, you've been banished forever. They're saying you came here illegally, which you knew was a crime. And people try to say, yeah, it's a petty crime. It's a crime, right? People are selling eighths of weed. That's pretty petty, but people say, oh, you do the crime, you do the time. But suddenly when you cross the border illegally, it's like you do the crime and you get away with it. No, like you do the crime, you get deported, right? So people want you to have sympathy because someone comes into the country illegally because they say they were just trying to provide for their family. Yeah, well, this dude was selling drugs to provide for his family. Both of them did illegal acts, but you're trying to make one morally justified. He crossed the country. And then when people come in the country illegally, it doesn't just stop there. They come in. If they came in illegally, that means they have to, in order to get work, they need to voluntarily accept, being paid under the table or misrepresent their legal status, which is a lie, which is a crime. A lot of them use other people's social security number, identity theft, identity fraud, which is a crime. Many of them work in the informal economy because, hey, you got to make ends meet. More crimes. So when they try to say, oh, well, they're doing less crimes than American born. No, they're doing a lot of covert slicks crimes because, of course, they don't want to get caught. And many places like California, if they catch them and they see that they don't have any documentation, catch and release.
I didn't have to say anything. I didn't have to post about it. I didn't have to bring awareness to the subject, but I did, okay? Because it was still unfair, or at least I saw it as like police brutality. Like, what the heck is?
Here we go again. She's saying she's bringing awareness to the subject. Does anyone know who this chick is? You didn't bring awareness to anything. The thing that brought awareness to George Floyd was that it was live streamed in 4K when someone kneeled on his neck for 9 minutes. Her tweet about BLM didn't move the needle a scintilla.
I'm African American. I didn't have to say anything. I didn't have to post about it. I didn't have to bring awareness to the subject, but I did, okay? Because it was still unfair, or at least I saw it as like police brutality. Like, what the heck is going on? And the reason why all these protests are going on as well is like to bring awareness, to kind of say, hey, this is not fair. That's how change happens, right? But I just right now, like going online and listening to some people's thoughts, and they're like, take them all away, deport them all. It's like, how could you be so insensitive? Like I said, I completely agree for deporting criminals and people that are actually doing harm to other people. But to innocent families, perhaps not. I do get that they broke the law. And I'm kind of, it's just the way that it's being done that it's just like, wow, I just kind of can't.
Man. So she said, I get that they broke the law. Breaking the law is a crime. If you consistently break the law, you're a criminal. Criminals get punished. What am I missing here?
I'm kind of, it's just the way that it's being done that it's just like, wow.
So now she doesn't mind the deportations. It's the way that it's being done. And see, when you let people talk, they kind of just get into what they really need to say. And as much as people were trying to act all mad about the deportations, This is what they voted for, but they voted for sanitized deportation. They voted for deportations that you don't see, where you don't even mention it. And then one day there's a report that say we deported this X amount of people. So all she cares about is the controversial deportations, the bigotry that comes with it. But he was always bigoted. He was saying you guys are bringing drugs, crime, rapists. You're not sending your best. Like, what did you think was going to happen? And now I just don't like the way it's being done. There's no way to just like politely, sweetly deport these people.
Harm to other people, but to innocent families, perhaps not. I do get that they broke the law. And I'm kind of, it's just the way that it's being done that it's just like, wow, I just kind of can't believe what's going on right now.
Shout out to Hollyfield. Not all criminals get punished. Some go on to be president. I cannot refute this at all.
Well, ma'am, let me address something you said that just before we get into our community. You said you really didn't have no problem with them, deporting criminals, but you didn't think that all that was going to happen. Well, see, this is the problem. You immigrate to a country and don't understand the dynamic of white supremacy. When they say, oh, we just going to deport criminals, we're not going to do anybody else, it's just the criminals. And people in your community say, yeah, that's great. Get the criminals out. But here's the thing. If you understand white supremacy, if you're not them, you're considered a criminal.
Happy Sunday, my family, and welcome back. So Latinos are calling out Black Americans for not standing with them. I'll come back with more.
You're trapped by a meaningless duty that was never yours.
Commentary, all right?
Latinos in the United States have not earned the support of Black people for us to be demanding, oh yeah, why aren't...
I don't know who this amigo is, but salute to the brother. Let me amigo cook.
They coming out to protest with us? Why aren't they engaging in activism with us? Because we haven't earned it at all, in the slightest. Or did you guys forget that 46% of all eligible Latino voters voted for Donald Trump in the 2024 presidential election? Or how about the fact...
How many times I gotta say it? I will vote for Donald Trump. I will vote for Donald Trump.
That racism, anti-Blackness, colorism, all of these things are still very much pervasive in our communities. Bro, Latinos haven't even reconciled with the fact that they can't use the N-word unless they're also Black themselves, because Afro-Latinos exist. Oh, and if we're talking about Miami, oof, you'll see the whitest MAGA Latinos be like, bro, but I grew up in the hood. I grew up around Black people in Overtown or in Liberty City. I could say it, bro. No one's going to stop me from saying it. It's my right. I'm not...
Yeah, I'm going to do a whole segment about that where a bunch of non-Black people, they're literally obsessed with saying nigga. There's no Black people around. They blame it on rap music, but then they also say personal responsibility. So is the rap music so hypnotic that when you hear the words that you can't just help yourself? Something takes over your body and you just become spiritually inclined to just spew out nigga. Then cats be on the golf course around a bunch of white people saying nigga. People be playing badminton saying nigga, right? No one is forcing you to say it. There's no gun to your head saying it. And all of the arguments and excuses for saying it, I can debunk all of them in real time. But I say, hey, all slurs matter. Since you can't help yourself and you want to say nigga, then keep saying nigga. But for every respective racial and ethnic group, there is a slur for your group as well. So all you're telling me is that I've granted you access to say nigga, and you're granting me access to say whatever slur, insult, or epithet towards you, but just in an endearing term. See, you can say nigga as much as you want because of rap music. And I can call your mama, your wife, your daughter, your sister a bitch, but don't trip. I don't mean it like that. I'm only calling them a bitch because I heard it in a rap song and I mean it in an endearing way. See, I'm not calling your daughter a bitch. I'm calling her a beautiful bitch. And your wife is a lovely bitch. And your mom, you know, she's a fabulous bitch. And you would happen to be a son of a bitch. And I mean it in the same endearing way that you mean nigga. Let's commence.
Because Afro-Latinos exist. Oh, and if we're talking about Miami, oof, you'll see the whitest MAGA Latinos be like, bro, but I grew up in the hood. I grew up around black people in Overtown or in Liberty City. I could say it, bro. No one's going to stop me from saying it. It's my right. I'm not racist. I have a black friend. We haven't even gotten over that. And we want black people to go to protests with us, to engage in activism with us, putting their lives, their freedom, their bodies on the line. No, I completely understand any black person that wants to just disengage, disregard us. I get it, guys. I really, really do. And
So Roger says, I drive for a living. I know when my license will expire. Therefore, it is my responsibility to renew it on my own. If I don't and it expires, then it is my responsibility not to get behind the wheel. And that's the same thing with the people that overstay their visas and they say, yeah, I came here legally. Yeah, you came here illegally, but it became an illegal and unauthorized stay once your visa expired. You know the legalities of the visa process. So once you choose not to adhere to that, whatever happens to you, you know, they say tough luck, buttercup. That's what happens when people come over here and they cross the border illegally. They know that they're committing a crime, but they're willing to take that risk because they believe that there will be a greater reward if they get away or if they is, you know, just processed and released. So, yeah. Many people knowing what they're doing. It's not, and also this is the same thing. If I commit a crime in America and I say, man, I didn't know that was a law, they're going to say, hey, you should have known the law. You're getting locked up. But somehow when someone breaks into our country, they're like, hey, we didn't know breaking into the country without papers, not coming through a authorized port of entry. We didn't know that was illegal. Okay, you didn't know it was illegal. And now I'm telling you it is illegal. So I'm going to send you back and you come through the right way. So then they start advocating for more illegal entry because they say, you know how hard it is to come through the legal process, but can't I make that same thing? You know how hard it is to make ends meet working a 9 to 5. So that's why I had to sell dope, or that's why I had to pimp a hoe. So that's why I had to do this, right? People say, no, don't make excuses. But suddenly we're supposed to accept the excuses when it's someone from another country. They had to come here illegally because they were fleeing gangs. All y'all do is talk about Chicago, Oakland, Baltimore, St. Louis. A lot of gangs there, right? Where could the black people flee from? Shut up, nigger. Pull yourself up by your bootstrap. Okay, fine. That's what we will do. But that's what other groups need to do too, right? If they're fleeing the cartel, shut up. Pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. Won't you fight in your own country? We are obligated to help someone that's fleeing the cartel, but an American-born citizen that's a descendant of U.S. chattel slavery, if they're trying to flee from gang violence in their own homeland, shut up and figure it out. But I can't tell people to shut up and figure it out in their own homeland. Okay.
On the line? No, I completely understand any black person that wants to just disengage, disregard us. I get it, guys. I really, really do. And we as Latinos, as a collective, should not be harboring resentment against black people, criticizing them, getting angry at them, questioning them. No, because we've earned this. They are completely justified in feeling the way they feel and doing what they're doing. Now, I would like to give a message to the black folks watching this video. You are completely justified in your feelings and in doing what you're doing, and I respect it. But please remember that black folks are also being affected by this persecution of undocumented migrants. And I feel like that's not talked about enough either. Here, Miami, Florida is the best example. Haitians, Jamaicans.
Yeah, it's not talked about enough. But why is it not talked about? If all immigrants matter and we're all in this together and all minorities matter and marginalized groups, why is it not talked about? Every time you hear the Democrats and all of these ICE raid, people against the ICE raid, they keep saying Latino, Latino, Latino. They're going after Latino, Latino, Latino. But the melanated Black immigrants are being deported at a disproportionate rate. Suddenly, no one is talking about per capita then, because this is the plan to completely erase us. Latino Hispanics have been brought to be this buffer group to basically try to make us invisible. So both parties are going to up their pandering to, to try to cement this newly formed constituency. But there's like a wild card because there's no race called Latino. So as much as they try to throw them together as just this amalgamated group, they all have various different interests. Cubans don't have the same interests as Mexicans. Mexicans don't have the same interests as a Venezuelan. Venezuelans don't have the same interests as Hondurans. But if you lump them all up as a Hispanic community, it appears that there's just this well-oiled machine cohesive unit, but that's not the case.
Bahamians, Afro-Cubans, Afro-Hondurans, Garifunas, Black people from all over Latin America and all over the world, Africans, just so many Black people that are also undocumented that are really being affected by the persecution of this administration. And of course, much like any other entity in space, Black folks in immigration detention centers, in the immigration...
Hey, I'm an American, so I would concur with this. Everyone should learn how to speak English. So my issue is that I know Donald Trump, he said that English is the official language. Up until then, it was just kind of common law that it was, but it wasn't codified in law that English was the official language. But people think that this is xenophobic, but no, you don't have to like it, but the language that Moses commonly spoke is English. So if you come here, I believe you should learn English, even if it's broken English, because what happens is there's too many enclaves that you go to. No one speaks English. So then you're treated as like a second class citizen in America. And what happens is they turn around and say, too bad, bro. Learn Spanish. Same thing that they said with Bad Bunny performing, which I really don't care about. But they were saying, oh, is Bad Bunny going to do a bunch of songs in Spanish? And they start trolling and said, hey, well, y'all need to learn Spanish. And what happens is there has been some occupational segregation, especially in California. A way that they can legally segregate is that they say, hey, must be bilingual. So they'll have a neighborhood and they'll say, hey, look, this is a predominantly Hispanic neighborhood. Bunch of people speak Spanish here. So we must have bilingual workers. And since specifically Black Americans, they speak Spanish the least, or speak multiple languages the least, they're automatically going to be discriminated against. Not to say other groups aren't discriminated against, but we live in segregated enclaves, so a bunch of white people are not living next to Hispanics anyways. The same thing they do in Chinatown, must be able to speak Mandarin, right? So you're basically saying that you're only going to hire your own kind. So that's fine, right? So if I have a business and say must be able to speak fluent English, not just English, fluent English that we can clearly understand, that will be xenophobic and considered discrimination. But it's not discrimination for these Spanish-speaking institutions, Mandarin-speaking institutions to discriminate on you because you can't speak their language based on them having a whole community of people that don't speak English. But, we're just supposed to accept this because this is just America and we're a melting pot. And everyone that says that, when you look at the homeland that they're from, it will never be accepted in their homeland. So they come over here. They didn't fight for any change in their homeland. They just come over here to try to be transplants. They try to change America into their homeland that they didn't fight for to stay or to make better. And then they try to say, hey, we're better than you because we've transplanted this area into a place back home without even having to go back home. This is Chinatown. Who needs to go to China when we have Chinatown? We have Little Mexico and Little Havana and all this other stuff. So there's really not a value in preserving American culture. There's a value in coming into America and transplanting their culture and extracting the resources from there. And I'm not saying that these people are just don't contribute anything, but oftentimes some of the things that they contribute are either detrimental or less valuable to people that are native born Americans. And that's why many people live in segregated enclaves. You know, I know people will say that it's self-segregated. With Black Americans, we'll live next to everyone because, you know, we have a culture of loving people, but other people, they try to segregate themselves from us until we say, okay, fine, y'all want to segregate? Let's just be separate but equal. Then they start crying reverse racism, even though they don't really want to live by us to begin with.
System are treated worse than their white, Latino, Asian counterparts. So it's really not talked about enough either. Here, Miami, Florida is the best example. Haitians, Jamaicans, Bahamians, Afro-Cubans, Afro-Hondurans, Garifunas, Black people from all over Latin America and all over the world, Africans, just so many Black people that are also undocumented that are really being affected by the persecution of this administration. And of course, much like any other entity in space, Black folks in immigration detention centers in the immigration system are treated worse than their white, Latino, Asian counterparts. So it's really important to acknowledge that and just let you guys know. But yeah, Latinos, we need to tighten up. If you guys want the support of the Black community, then earn it. Demonstrate that we can solve these issues of racism in our own communities. And please stop saying the N-word. If you're not Black, don't say the N-word. It's really simple, actually.
I'll be 32 this year. I've been living in Florida off and on since 2008, and I've lived in Texas. I've lived around every kind of Hispanic you could think of. Black people, we need to get out of the habit of trying to tell other groups of people who come to this country and want to align themselves with whiteness or be in proximity to whiteness what's going to happen to them. Because the enemy is white supremacy. It does harm to everybody, white people included. But the problem is that people come here and they want to perpetuate it thinking that they can trade and buy into it, not realizing that white supremacy is exclusive. It's not inclusive. You will never be them. Doesn't matter what kind of minority you are. Doesn't matter how you try to breed your way into it. It don't matter how much money you make. You will never be them. Because to them, especially the ones who make the laws and make the money, that's all that matters. And that's not to say you got to turn around and be aligned with us, but you got to align yourself against them on every level, not just the optics, but the ideas too. And expecting other people to come to bat for you when it's time for you to fight is crazy, especially when we see you and we see how you are. We see what you do. We see what you say. Because Black folk, really, we very empathetic and sympathetic towards everybody because we don't want to see nobody go through the same shit that we done been through, bro. But everybody at every turn, every time are apathetic towards us. And we tired. So I'm saying, Black people, don't tell nobody shit. Let them figure it out. Let them fight. And pray they win. Because ultimately, a win against white supremacy is still a win, no matter who won.
An East Asian woman came on this app and called Black women cowards because we have decided not to be on the front line for these protests against immigration, mass deportation. She said that a lot of Black women are cowards. We are cowards if we are not on the front line. And she said in another video that a lot of
And some people have been doing that, trying to gaslight and goad us to go out there saying, oh, your ancestors were cowardly, or then they'll give big up our ancestors and try to say, essentially, you can't hold a candle to your ancestors. And then I ask them, okay, fine. You keep talking about my ancestors, but where are your ancestors? Who was the Mexican version of MLK? Who was the Asian version of Malcolm X? Right? Who was the white version of MLK? Don't worry. I'll wait.
our ancestors were cowards. Which is wild considering had it not been for our ancestors, you would not be here. Your parents would not have been able to immigrate here. It was the blood, sweat, and tears of my ancestors that, allows people to come to the United States of America for a better life. So to call us cowards is crazy.
And anyone that, whether them personally or their family, fled from their homeland, for you to even utter the word coward is very hypocritical, but it's extremely diabolical and insidious as well. Because, see, there was nowhere for us to go back to. Go back to Africa. What are you talking about? There was no country in Africa for us to go back to. No one, and I have no African immigrants in my family, but that's neither here nor there, right? All of the advantages, the benefits that they came here, the land of milk and honey, the American dream, right? People don't even have a dream for their homeland. Instead of a dream in their homeland, they're thinking about the American dream, but you're an immigrant. America is not your homeland. So people didn't envision fighting in their homeland. They just watched somebody else, us, foundational Black American freedmen, lay the groundwork. They kind of ridiculed the civil rights generation, but nobody would even fight in their homeland. Instead, they say, if you can't stand the heat, get out the kitchen. We stayed in the kitchen and extinguished the flames. And then we got people who couldn't stand the heat and they ran out the kitchen. They didn't just run out the kitchen. Running out the kitchen is running out of your house. You ran out of your own house. Then you ran out of your own city. Then you ran out of your own state. Then you ran out of your own country. How cowardly is that? And then you want to wag your fingers at someone. You guys need to do this. You haven't done this. You haven't done that. You haven't fought. We fight. You flee. We're not the same.
But I'm just curious, do other ethnic groups not recognize that Black people are not slaves anymore? Like, we don't have to do a damn thing but stay Black and die. Like, we are not your slaves. We don't have to do anything that we don't want to do. And to be honest, the reason why their attention is more focused on us opposed to their perpetrators, the people who voted for the mass deportation, the white man who's in charge, the reason why their energy is towards Black people is because they see Black people as inferior. Like, we are second-class citizens, we're low-class citizens, and they're superior to us. And the fact that all of the attention is on immigration right now and they are targeted, they just can't grasp, like, not us. We're Asian, we're not Black. But we're Hispanic, we're not Black. Why is this happening to us and not the Black people? But we're not Black, but we're supposed to be okay because we're not Black. And they don't like that right now the heat is on them. It's always been on Black people, still is. But they just don't like. Now, if Black people were under attack right now, when I say Black people, I mean Black Americans, as much as, immigrants, they wouldn't care. They wouldn't say anything about us because they would feel like, well, at least, Black people are getting attacked too. But because right now it's really bad for them, they have to blame us. They have to blame us. It's not our job to save you. It's not our job to save you. And you cannot manipulate us, gaslight us, guilt us, force us to do anything that we don't want to do. And calling us cowards is not helping your case.
What I'm trying to say is like we don't want you to defend us. You don't have to defend us. It's okay. You guys have your own problems. I'm just telling you about history, what happened, how Mexicans helped the Black slaves, how a lot of Mexicans got killed as well, saving them, how we have always stand.
Listen, do you find yourself exhausted?
This chick was lying as well, but I think the sister is going to debunk her. Let's see.
Like the mass deportation, this Mexican woman, and I've seen a few other Mexicans saying that Black people needed to help them and stand in solidarity with them. This is not our fight. And she's talking about how the Mexicans helped the Black slaves and how they were killed and on the front lines. First of all, we don't even have to go back in history. We already have a lot of issues in our community that we have to face daily and that we're marching for, going to Congress about, trying to get bills passed. We don't have any allies. So we don't even got to talk about slavery. What about now? I don't see.
Yeah, so there's no one in the Latino community that's our ally on anything. Forget the deportations or anything. They're not trying to help us pass anything. When it comes to reparations, they're against it. Anti-Black hate crime bill, against it. Literally anything that would provide us with tangible benefits, all of these communities are against it. It's not just the Hispanic Latino community. They're all against it unless they can use us as the doormat, the one who suffers all the blows and the brunt of it, and then they get the benefits of it. If it's something that can be framed as a minority, underserved, overlooked community, then they'll say, yeah, let the Black people get beat up over the side of the head, and then they'll come in and reap the benefits. If it's something like that, they're all for it. But if it's something that specifically helps us, all of these groups are against it. Why should I have to pay? And they start saying all this other stuff. Well, I'll say, hey, I'm not part of the cartel. I didn't destabilize your country. Why should I have to deal with open borders? And why should my taxpayer dollars go towards that? When you frame it like that, that's considered xenophobic. But then they'll come over here and then think that they're just owed, a better life. I'm seeking a better life. You're not owed a better life in America. You're not. Join get in line, grab a ticket.
The Mexican community rallying behind Black people, I just don't see it, not by the droves. I'm not going to say on an individual level and on an individual basis, there are some of you that may, help, but this is not our fight. Don't. You see how they come and recruit us when they need help and when they need numbers? But when we need help and when we need numbers, we're just another nigga on the street. Like, come on, they a lot of these Latinos.
Honestly, I'm not sure what exactly you're asking with this question. Could you be more clear? And what exactly is Latino culture? Because there's not 400 years of Latino culture. Latino is a relatively new term from the 70s. There's no race called Latino, and there's no race called Hispanic. So what do you mean Latino culture? Venezuelan culture, that's Latino. Honduran culture, that's Latino. Argentinian culture, that's Latino. Like what do you mean? And this is why they like these terms so nebulous, because they can mean anything to anybody based on the conversation and the context.
They be racist too. Okay? I've been to Mexico and I've seen Mexicans that were dark as me. They don't get the representation in the media. We only see the lighter complected ones. Colorism is rampant over there too. We could go deep, but Black people, stand down. I mean, if you want to help, that's up to you, but don't let these people guilt trip you. It's not the guilt trip. What y'all think about this? Do we owe the Mexicans anything? It's relevant to Brooklyn Lane.
They are being starved. They are thirsty, only given 1 cup of water per day, are denied bathroom privileges, are denied medical attention. People in ICE concentration camps are losing their lives. And don't even think about saying baffle, fuck around and find out to these people in ICE detention centers. It is a shame that members of the Black community started the trend and so many other people followed. This is an updated voting poll.
Updated.
Here we go again. Why the fuck is she blaming us? See, and this is I will vote for Donald Trump. I will vote for Donald Trump. You voted for Donald Trump. Your community voted for Donald Trump. Instead of blaming the dominant society and the community that's mass deporting your people, instead, you're blaming the people that y'all often call low IQ and powerless. So we have no power, but y'all want us to somehow get power that we don't have to stop the deportations. We're supposed to be lazy, but suddenly y'all want us to snap out of our laziness and rush to your defense. We have a low IQ, but then suddenly we're going to be super smart and come with a pinky in the brain, sophisticated plan to help you guys get out of this deportation fiasco. Get it together.
Brown people voted for Kamala Harris more, but you fall for the colonizers' divisive tactics, the inaccurate voting polls, the initial propaganda. It is immature and immoral to be centering that type of behavior in response to a community that is being
Well, bruh, you got to tell your community this. What you say, this is a setup, a divide and conquer. When were we united? We're not united now, so can't really divide us. What this is a divide and conquer, because we're not united. You can only divide something that's united, and we're not united. Not on for us. We'll invite anyone to the cookout. You know what I mean? Here, you can say, nigga, you can come to the cookout. Here, you can be part of the Black Panthers. Here, you can do this. And then when we turn around and say, hey, we let y'all say, nigga, could we call y'all wetback or spick or beaner or anything like that? But just in an endearing term. No, you can't call us that. Hey, we invited y'all to the cookout. Could we come to y'all fiesta, quinceañera? No. No mayates allowed. You know what I mean? So like, we've been very open. Even when we were fighting for civil rights, your community was fighting for Chicano rights. I'm not a Chicano. So they wasn't fighting for me. They were fighting for Chicanos. My community were fighting for civil rights, which is universal policy. All lives matter. Y'all were fighting for Chicano rights. Chicano lives matter. There's the difference. Nobody was talking about divide and conquer then. Many of your leaders, look at LULAC, the largest and one of the most prominent Latin American advancement groups in all of the land. They said, let the Negro fight his own battle. I do not want to ally with them. Nobody was talking about divide and conquer then.
Deported, imprisoned in concentration camps, and tossed out of the country to who knows where without any rights or contact to any lawyer or family. When we should be focused on solidarity, and this has to stop immediately, especially those of you who claim to be activists perpetuating this FAFOBS nonsense.
Shouts out to Aaliyah, because this is where it was on her page when I first saw this lady, this Mexican lady. And then I went to her page and she doubled down and literally said that they helped us during the Civil War, which is a lie. And the Mexicans helped free the slaves. First of all, Mexico had slavery themselves that wasn't abolished until 1829 or 1830 or something, somewhere around there. And the president that abolished slavery in Mexico was Afro-Indigenous. I don't know why they keep leaving that part out.
And the other part they keep leaving out, that the Mexican president that abolished slavery was Afro-Indigenous. Not only that, he was assassinated by the white Blanco Mexicans for doing that. They never seem to do that. Hey, Mexicans freed the slave. Yeah, that was the Negrito who freed the slaves. And then the Blanquitos killed them. Why don't y'all tell that part of the story?
He looked more like a negro than he looked like. Y'all picking up what I'm putting down? And when we were down there, we was fighting beside them. We was helping to protect their borders.
So Rude Thing says, this Nazi regime, white supremacists won't stop with illegals. I understand that. And this is what we had been saying. But people were saying, you guys need to stop complaining, stop begging, didn't do nothing. Why didn't you comply? People in your community were saying that. People like George Zimmerman, who is a Latino Hispanic, who chased down a young Black kid. So we have been talking about white supremacists. We have been talking about Nazi lovers. There was an American Nazi party. I mean, the Ku Klux Klan, this ideology still lives. So you're kind of preaching to the choir. You should be telling your community that. We've been telling y'all this, and y'all kept saying, get over it. And speaking of white supremacists, there's a bunch of white supremacist Latino gangs, Latino white supremacist gangs in LA. Go talk to them.
They conveniently leave that out. All this civil rights, there was not fighting with us for civil rights. It's a lie and a scam, not as a collective. And they know a lot of them are anti-Black. It is so crazy that they keep blaming us. First of all, we've been saying fuck around and found out, just like we've been saying a whole bunch of other shit that they co-opt and steal and turn into something else. Fuck around and found out never really had no political meaning. That's just how Black people talk. Bitch, fuck around and find out. That's how we talk. Why do they keep blaming us and censoring us when we are not the ones that's putting them in concentration camps. We do not yield, nor do we hold the power to deport them. They are focusing on the wrong people. Why y'all not mad at MAGA? Why y'all not sticking it to the white man? I mean, we just got to call it a spade a spade. It's so weird that the Mexican and the Latino community keeps coming for Black people. It's because we're not putting our bodies, we're not sacrificing our bodies.
Here we go again. As a Black melanated Filipino that knows his history, this is all some wild ass BS. Y'all going down a bad path, erasing what gave freedom to the people. Who was y'all? And you really don't want to get started with the Filipino. You really don't want to get started there, bro. The very fact that most Black people don't know that Abraham Lincoln didn't give them freedom are still celebrating Juneteenth, thinking that it has something to do with African Americans at all. Well, honestly, it sounds like you got a lot of vitriol. So you need to kind of take that out. Who is since you're Filipino, who is the Filipino version of MLK? Who is the Filipino version of Malcolm X? Fred Hampton, since you know all of your history, right? Where was your community fighting at, right? You should be able to give me at least one or two, right? Give me the most prominent Filipinos that were standing up for civil rights. Do you know anyone? Who is the Filipino version of Fred Hampton? I would love to hear that. And Juneteenth helped benefit everyone. Tell me one thing that Filipinos fought for in America that helped benefit everyone. Like, because we were fighting to end racial quotas. We were fighting to open up immigration to all people. They weren't letting Filipinos over here. So could you tell me one thing, one prominent Filipino that's did something to fight for Black people? Don't worry, I'll wait. As a melanated Filipino, this should be easy for you. The same fact that Mexicans don't know a Black man freedom from slavery is the same reason why you have a pale-skinned people that don't know the word. Yeah, it doesn't matter what the word slave means. Like, honestly, these are kind of some irrelevant tidbits right now. But what I really would like to know is who is the Filipino version of MLK, Fred Hampton, just any prominent Filipino figure. I'll give you one too. Muhammad Ali, they wanted him to go to the Vietnam War. He said, man, I'm not going over there. I don't got no issue with the Vietnam people. They never called me nigga. And then we fought for Vietnamese people to get over here. And guess what? They start calling us niggas after that. But could you name one Filipino person that is prominent and known for standing up, specifically collaborating with Black people? So let me get ready to close this out.
And going and running out and standing on the front lines. Is that what it is? Why they got so much animosity toward us like we're the ones that's doing this to them? We're not inflicting any pain on you. And as per Aaliyah's video, because I never saw that initial video, she played a video of a bullhead clear guy coining fuck around and find out for political purposes. Once again, stealing our shit, renaming, reclassifying it, giving it a different meaning. We're not making fun of y'all like that. We really ain't. We don't give a... It's unfortunate, but stop blaming. You're pointing,
Make it a habit, 7 minutes of Tai Chi every morning, all the way for 1 month. This Monday,
Black Americans have been warning about white supremacy for generations.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, and that was just her giving her commentary. So I'm just going to go ahead and tap on a couple of the comments, and then I'm going to get ready to shut her down. I think this has been a fruitful stream, impromptu on the late night. Just want to come in and tap in with the fam. I told y'all that I will be more consistent with the live streams because I sincerely appreciate engaging with y'all. So shout out to Queen. Who is that? Queen Shibatsi. Also, is that Aki Johnson? Live long legacy. Even though live long, I'm still waiting for you to drop the Filipino icons. Beat active. some of these are new people. And also, Rude Thing, I appreciate you. And you said the Mexicans march with the BLM protest. You know what? I wish people would stop using this stuff, because just because you march for a protest didn't do anything. What people needed to march for was the police accountability bill. And once Biden was in office, nobody was pushing him on that. Definitely not Mexicans. So many times people try to march or do a hashtag or put on a shirt so they don't have to do anything else. What I would have preferred nobody marched, and then when it was time for the Police Accountability Act, you march down to the voting booth and vote for that. When it's time to get reparations, not for all Black people, lineage, status-based reparations for the descendants of U.S. chattel slavery. When Mexicans march with us for that, then that's something symbolic. All right, fine. How about the anti-Black hate crime bill? How about any specific tangible legislation? Because I can show you how we were targeted, specifically racially targeted, to be disenfranchised. So if we were racially targeted to be disenfranchised, we need to be racially targeted for that compensation. It's not about wokeness, DEI, affirmative action, or anything. It's about economic intangible justice. Mexicans are not marching for that. Many times people march for BLM just to say, hey, look, I marched with you, so I should be able to say nigga, right? So there's many Black people out there on the ICE protests getting sprayed with chemical weapons. Like, what does that mean? It's not stopping the deportations. So look, I appreciate people went out there. I mean, most of the protesters were white. And there are a lot of protesters that protest with MLK. They went out there with the protest, and then they came and voted against the Civil Rights Act. And that's what a lot of people did. I marched with George Floyd for his murder. And then you go out there, policy that are justice policies, you vote against them. Many people in your community do that. So we can't pretend that like marching or wearing a shirt or a hashtag equates to some level of unity. That is a form of a symbolic gesture and symbolic solidarity, but I wouldn't consider this tangible. But I'm gonna go ahead and play a couple videos. Hopefully you guys stick around, but just in case you forgot, time for a like intermission. We kindly request that you show love to the channel's creator and platform by leaving a like, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest content. Liking posts is completely free and helps the algorithm boost our reach. We want to grow the community larger and larger. So thank you all who take the time to support us. It does mean the world to us and doesn't go unnoticed. And for any of the people that are enjoying the content and you think that you would like to, hey, I don't need a Frappuccino for Starbucks, or you know what, McDonald's is too overpriced, and you want to make a friendly, generous contribution, then you can do so like.
Don't you think it's about time you gave me my money? I need cash. Please send that money. Please send that money. Please send that money. Want my money. I need cash. Want my money. I need cash. Want my money.
Okay, so I would be remiss if I didn't hit y'all like this.
Yeah.
Hey.
B-Eazy, that dude, yeah. Shit so hot it's burning up, just go ahead and turn this up. I bring the pain like an aftermath of a car wreck. It's a lot of niggas that say they real, to me that shit is far-fetched. Front cats is pussy, they really is on some feminine stuff. I ride up on them with the It's a definition of adrenaline rush. What he do is sweet like cinnamon puffer. My niggas is rough like Willow Pass. Grew up out on Mary Mac, but I used to hang on Willow Pass. These firms that I roll with, Outcasts and Misfits. For the zip lips when you get hit. When the fifth spit, flat line of your Fitbit. Trap habits is black magic, no voodoo. Get the bands like Buku. For the cocaine, they go cuckoo. Most these niggas is foo-foo, so I'm shitting on them like doo-doo. I can't fuck with y'all like tofu. I'm just saying, man, like Goku. Bad bitches at the house with me watching Netflix or Roku. Fuck them both at the same time, and I swear to God it was so cool. Street legend, real boss, I call shots cause I'm still saucy. I know some G's to the bike crack on Chirac and then fly back out to Milwaukee. When they hear me flow, they say I be burning up, burning up. Cookies to the draw is what we burning up, burning up. What you ain't know, oh we burning up, burning up. This shit so hot, it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up. When you hear me flow, say I be burning up, burning up. Cookies to the draw is what we burning up, burning up. What you ain't know, oh we burning up, burning up. This shit so hot, it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up.
B-Eazy that dude. B-Eazy that dude. Yeah, they know the name. Stacking up the paper, but having money ain't a thing. Standing on business, burning hotter than a flame. From the block to the ballroom, you gotta stand the rain. B-Eazy that dude. Yeah, they know the name. Stacking up the paper, but having money ain't a thing. Standing on business, burning hotter than a flame. From the block to the ballroom, you gotta stand the rain. B-Eazy that dude, yeah they know the name.